So over the course of the last few weeks, I've been meeting with various different people who are associated with the garden building industry here in the city of Kyoto. As a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to meet up with one of my long-term heroes, a guy named Mark Peter Keene, who many of you guys probably are aware of. He's written many books on the subject of Japanese gardens. So I got to go over to Mark's house on the east side of Kyoto last week, sit down with him and meet with him about kind of the ideas that I want to put together for our nursery. Now, as part of that meeting, Mark agreed to introduce me to a garden design company here, and I actually met with them just a couple of days ago. Again, similar to the first meeting with Eisei-en a few weeks ago, and kind of discuss the garden design, get a little bit of feedback from them, and then they're going to be putting together, obviously, a quote for me, just like Eisei-en is as well. And then we're going to kind of weigh all the positives and negatives of each of these companies and make a final decision in the next few weeks here before we actually break ground on the property in early November. So with all of that in mind, what I'd like to do in this episode is actually take you over to the raw property and walk you through the overall layout of how the garden is going to be set up. Now, I mentioned in the last episode that we're building both the house and the garden or the nursery on the same property. And the reason that I want to do that is because I want to simplify my life to as large a degree as possible. In the States, our nursery was on a property of about 10 acres, and I managed everything myself. I didn't really have any employees aside from a short-term apprentice for a while, but I essentially managed everything, and it was just overwhelming. And I decided when we came to Japan that a huge part of moving here was actually to simplify our lives, to get a better work-life balance, being able to be with my family as much as possible, not only taking weekends, but just being able to be around them more frequently, have dinner together, and just enjoy life. So what that boiled down to decision-wise here was just buying one property, building both the house and the nursery or the garden on the same property, and simplifying life in general. So the garden is not going to be huge. As a matter of fact, it's going to be quite small relative to our nursery in the United States, but by Japanese garden standards, it's actually going to be relatively large. So let's head over to the property and take a look at the raw land and the layout of the future of Eisei-en Kyoto. So I thought it'd be cool to show you guys kind of what the layout of the garden is going to be here. So this is obviously going to be the entrance on the far end over here. I don't know if you can see me all the way down at the end here, but this is where the actual entrance to the garden and the house will be. So we'll have a nice big, what's called a Sukiya gate in the front here. So a Sukiya style gate that you'll walk through. There'll be a nice approach here. We'll park a car over there. And then as you turn to the right here, this front section will be the sort of entrance display garden, where we'll have several what you might call monkey poles, if you will, but we'll build the bases out of really heavy granite or some sort of stone. We'll have a nice big Japanese maple likely in the front corner here, and then a beautiful pathway that kind of leads around this side. So the house will actually be off to the north side here, facing south, with some big windows, and the workshop will actually be all the way in the front here. But you'll make your way around the side here. There'll be monkey pole displays all through here as well. And then when you get to this back section of the garden here, this is where it will open up and we'll have much more space, and we'll build this out kind of in like a kare sansui style garden, meaning like a dry landscape type garden with several monkey poles on display through here with beautiful mounded moss around them. Very few plants actually planted in here, but we're going to be sourcing some really heavy duty, beautiful old stones to intersperse in this area as well. So my goal with this is to make this as simple as possible. I want it to look as if everything was placed where it needed to be and there's no extra fluff in the garden. And I'm not planning on really filling this garden up with a ton of trees. We're looking at probably around 50 to 60 quality bonsai at any one time, with some trees staying here permanently and some trees cycling in and out. But in general, this is going to be kind of the layout of the garden here. Each August in Japan, people from around the country return to their hometowns and neighborhoods to celebrate what's called Obon, which is also known as the Festival of Souls. It's believed that during Obon, the spirits of ancestors return to the earthly realm to visit their living relatives. The festival typically lasts for 3 days and includes various customs such as cleaning and decorating graves, offering food and incense at altars, and performing traditional dances called Bon Odori. Obon is a time for family gatherings, reflection, and paying respects to those who have passed away. On the final night of Obon in Kyoto, a special fire festival is held in the city. Known as the Gozan Okuribi, it marks the conclusion of Obon when the spirits of deceased ancestors are sent back to the afterlife. In the evening of August 16th, 5 giant bonfires are lit on the mountains surrounding Kyoto, each forming a distinct shape, including the iconic Dai character. These fires serve as a symbolic farewell to the spirits, guiding them back to the spiritual world. In fact, during the day leading up to the event, one can visit several temples around the city and purchase cedar logs that will be burned later that night on the mountainsides. On each of these logs, the name of a deceased family member is written, and they are then arduously carried up into the mountains. This year's Obon was especially important to me as my mom passed away very suddenly in May of this year. So this truly felt like a proper send-off at the end of what's been a very difficult summer.